take your neck and a figure of 8 in the shape, and stay there, that's fine. Yeah. Cool.
Good afternoon, sorry, evening, I think. Welcome to the last development session at the European Expo today. It's a good one, especially if you've got a slightly novel obsession of cars like myself. It is Need for Speed, and we're going to have Marcus Nilsson from Ghost Gamers taking you through it. And so please, a round of applause for Need for Speed and Marcus Nilsson.
We are unbound, free, unshackled. We push the limits in the most powerful cars. Cars we don't pay for. We go where we want, when we want, as fast as we want. You may call us thugs, but deep down, you know you need us. We are the law. You can't catch devils with angels.
I am not you. I am the life you're too scared to live. You are asleep. I am awake. I am the reality show. The catalyst. The 15 minutes you'll never have. You want to know why I do this? I want to know why you don't.
We are the enemy of freedom.
I will run.
We are the shadow you can't shake.
I will never stop.
We will hunt you.
You will never catch me.
We will not stop.
You will make me
We are
famous.
everywhere.
You will fail.
We will break
You are my challenge.
And you are our target.
You are my rival.
Hello. Hello, everyone. So as I was presented, my name is Marcus Nilsson, and I'm the executive producer for Need for Speed Rivals. Need for Speed Rivals is built out of Ghost Games in Gothenburg, Sweden. Today I want to present to you a slightly deeper view into what is the reason that you start building a new studio. And how do you get it done in a relatively short period of time at the same time as you're building a game for next generation of consoles. But I also want to talk to you a little bit about the state of Need for Speed. I obviously want to talk about Rivals, the game coming out in November, as well as a little bit hinting of maybe where the future of Need for Speed lies. So bear with me as, or be interested actually, in what I'm about to tell you. So, clicker. Ghost. What is Ghost? And why did we create Ghost in the first place? It really comes from a pitch I did to Patrick Sutherland, that is the EVP for games label at Electronic Arts, and someone who I worked with for a very long time. And I worked on Need for Speed Shift 2 at the moment, and really coming out from that game, we were thinking about how can we really embrace what we knew was going to happen. We was going to see new consoles come out, and we knew that we also had a very powerful engine being developed at DICE called Frostbite. So, you know, really kind of outlining or lining all those things up, we thought about, okay, we should really get, you know, starting building a new studio so we were ready for that. That was the kind of baseline for why we started to do that. So really what had happened, you know, really cold early morning in 2011, I took a flight down from Stockholm down to Gothenburg and started to meet some of the really early people that we knew were down in Gothenburg and we could start building a studio from. The choice of Gothenburg is far from random. DICE obviously had an office in DICE had an office in Gothenburg before, which meant that when we moved the studio up to Stockholm, we left some people obviously in Gothenburg, really experienced, good developers. And then as the years have gone by, we've also kind of been drip feeding back people to Gothenburg as people have you know, raising families, they go back to where they come from. So we had a really solid layer. And then if you think about all the people in the audience that know your geography, you know that Gothenburg is on the west coast, kind of shaves a 45-minute, 50-minute of the flight to the UK, and the UK has great many developers as well. So that whole, you know, having that, that flight distance open up a window that perhaps potentially DICE couldn't get to. Sweden is also a very good country, believe me, to live in, especially if you are older and you are building a family and you are experienced in working with computer games, and you you kind of want to settle down, because in Sweden you have more holiday than you have in most other countries. In Sweden, you have very good laws around parental leave, i.e. when you get a kid, you can split it in two. So no longer is it the mom's only responsibility to raise the kid, it's also that the men can do it. Very modern, very Swedish, but you know, believe me, it's good. So we started building the studio. We started to, and when EA does something like this, obviously we do it properly. This is one of the advantages and strengths with EA, is that once we want to get something done, we can get it done. So you hire in the people that can find the people, and you handpick the people you think you're going to be needing to build this game. And that's what we've been doing. We have people from all kinds of studios, from Rockstar, from DICE, Criterion, Remedy, Simbin. You can see the icons up there, and there's probably more as well. We have a really good blend of people to be able to explore Need for Speed and take it in slightly new directions as well. One of the key people to really get over is obviously you know, an old friend of mine, Craig Sullivan, who worked for Criterion. Craig and I go back a long time, and you know, one of the really key people behind both Hot Pursuit and Most Wanted. In my view, also two of the best games in Need for Speed. So getting him over and moved to Gothenburg, something I thought never was going to be possible, is obviously helping us to create a better quality offering with Rivals. But we also highlighted you know, a great game called Far Cry 3, and a guy that was up on this stage last year, Jamie Keane, working for Ubisoft and lead designer of Far Cry 3. An old colleague of mine from DICE, I brought him over, and he started working on you know, Rivals in the shape of getting that open world to be interested. So that's really the basic of Ghost, and you know, how we kind of built it. Back to what we're making. We're making Need for Speed. Need for Speed is huge. Need for Speed has, I should click this again, has sold 150 million copies. It was apparently the 5th franchise to go over 100 million copies. It's a massive brand. It's well known. When you say you talk to random people that's not necessarily inserted into the industry and say what you're working on, and you say Need for Speed, they do a, yeah, I know that. It's kind of like EA Sports or whatever, you know, kind of the core names from the industry that people know. But we pretty much own the action racing experience, the kind of edge of your seat experience, which I think what Need for Speed is. It's ours, and I think we also keep improving on that formula. We're obviously now also doing a motion picture. The trailer came out the other day. I'm not sure you've seen that, but if not, go to YouTube and watch it. It stars Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad. Don't tell me how season 6 ended, because I haven't seen it. But I will as soon as I ship this game. So Need for Speed is big and huge, but it's also a game which has very many different phases. All the way back to, and even before the underground, you've gone through street racing, to going around a track and shift, to race across America in the run. You have Carbon, you have Cops and Racers in Hot Pursuit. So it really is an experience that can be wide, but it also is an experience or a brand that in a way have perhaps lost its way a little bit. When people start looking at Need for Speed, they don't really know what game they played last year. It doesn't have a clear identity. And as such, we have really work to do to establish that. But that's why Ghost is here. With Ghost, we can now have a consistent creative leadership. We have Frostbite 3, which is an engine. We're not going to swap engine from one area, one location to another location and switch engine at the same time. We're building upon this, and it's going to be a continuous strategy how to get Need for Speed back to, big heights again. So with that established, how do you get started? Imagine, go back to that February morning, 2011, right? It really is about how when EA, gets behind something, we really get it done. But don't also remember that we are part of the games label, and as part of games label, we're part of working really closely with Criterion. And in my eyes, Criterion has done some of the best arcade racing games ever produced. The Burnout series, Hot Pursuit in 2010, and then Most Wanted last year. Or, this is very subjective, I understand that. But in my view, they are absolutely very good at what they do. The way they handle the car, the camera, their physics of driving the car, I think is absolutely top class. So when you start a new studio and you build that up, obviously there's a great advantage to be that close to Criterion, to be able to almost be mentored in the trade of making great arcade racing, as well as obviously they've helped us out with actual resources to build the game. So a big advantage for us that from the very beginning be able to work with Criterion. That has really helped us deliver those great Need for Speed experiences in the past. To me, Need for Speed is really about fun action, really great handling and social interactivity, and I think that's all items that Criterion has always done really, really good, and we're going to carry on excelling on those, obviously. So to be able to push that, we obviously need tool sets, and we have one great advantage when it comes to rivals, and it's the engine. Frostbite 3 is really, really good. Frostbite 3 is not plug and play. It works as a driving game, and it works as a first-person shooter. Those are basically two different engines. But they have base layers that are really smart. We have workflows and pipelines, which are very effective when you scale experiences between platforms and you get content built, in a pretty rapid way. People that come from outside and into the Ghost team sit down with a tool set. They go, "Oh my God, can we do this? Oh my God, can we do this?" So we have a very capable set of tools to be able to build our games. But as I said, it's not plug and play, and Ghost have spent an enormous amount of time and resource and money into getting this to be a driving game. With Rivals, I would say EA for the first time has a Frostbite driving engine, This is the first time we have an open world game, right? Battlefield is level-based. Everything else with Frostbite before have been level-based. Doing an open world game is a totally different beast. You also go very fast in this game, much faster than a tank in BF3, for instance. So it puts a lot of strain on the streaming engine and you know, a lot of engineering effort just to get that to work. And then you have the whole gameplay layer that we're going to be talking about soon, which is also a layer which is completely different to anything that we've ever done in the past. But to cover the basics, Rivals is a game where you have both cops and racers, only cops on the screen, that's random, but you know, meaning to tell you can play both sides. So you can play as a cop, you can play as a racer, you can flip back and forth, you know, how you want to. You have you know, there's a full career and there's a narrative-driven career. So there's a narrative giving you a reason why you're playing as a cop and why you're playing as a racer. You will unlock, you know, pursuit tech. You will unlock new cars. You will unlock liveries and ways for you to personalize your car. And as I said, it takes place in an open world. There's a really interesting scoring mechanic that we implemented into this game, which is a high risk and reward scoring system, we call it. Fundamentally, as a racer, when you go out in the world and you start doing illegal action, you string in speed points, you build up speed points, but with speed points you also build up a multiplier. And that multiplier will, you know, basically exponentially make more and more points the longer you stay out and the more you put on the line. Because at the same time as that multiplier goes up, the more exposure you're going to get to the cops. Both humans and AI in that world will be more interested in you. So it's really about you know, really finding the sweet spot for how long can I stay out? Is it one more race, one more drift corner? Because that can result in a lot of points, but also increase the risk of you being busted. Basically, you can think about this open world as a sandbox where you have cars and pursuit tech with kind of rock, paper, scissors gameplay, which you can play either on your own or with friends. But it really is a sandbox with a twist. Because we introduced something we call All Drive. All Drive really came about as we were talking about next generation. And all right, next generation, I guess you can do anything in that world, right? Because that's how you expose it, or start thinking about it. And then we started thinking about how we played Most Wanted. And Most Wanted, we had, you know, we were driving around exploring in the single player, and in the multiplayer, the same car as I've set up in single player, I couldn't use in multiplayer. So we're thinking, what if it was just one world and I could just, you know, seamlessly play single player, multiplayer, and co-op at the same time? And when you do that, you kind of open up Pandora's box a little bit. It's a little bit about a mind trick. I'll tell you more about that later on. But basically what this is a way for us to destroy the line between single player and co-op and multiplayer. What it means is that if you are playing Rivals in the UK and we're friends on any of the networks on that platform, when I start playing in Sweden, we'll be put into the same world. So you're playing single player, progression-driven single player as a racer, driving and doing your thing in the world. I'm in another part of the world doing my thing. We never need to meet in that world. We can just play our single player and, you know, shut the game down and go home or do something else. Whereas what could happen is obviously that we do meet. You're in a race, I'm in a pursuit, we meet, boom, big carnage, you know, things are happening, and I'll start going after you. I call All Drive being the unexpected or delivering the unexpected. Because no race will ever be the same, no playthrough will ever be the same when you bring people into the mix. And this is really what this experience is about. The All Drive experience is about you playing alone and then seamlessly join with friends in events and then seamlessly kind of go out again and potentially be joined by more or less. You know, take a few moments just to go out and do autolog challenges, go back again, do a race together with someone, go back, just do your single player. It's all about the different possibilities and the variation that we serve you, and it's up to you to pick up how you want to play it. So, but when you do that, just to give you some insight into thinking about OverDrive, it really is like open the Pandora's box of game design, because what is works in a normal single-player event where nothing can disturb you in what you're doing is obviously not applicable here. You cannot have a hero chase where you script the AI to do exactly something, because you can be in that world, or I can be in that world, and I could change the flow of it. So it needs to be a world which is really open, and everything that you do, you need to have a layer of basically online thinking around it. So what that means is that you can't really have scripted events, when you come with this problem to the engineers, what they really need to do is build gameplay loops which work in parallel. So I can be in a race, but that needs to be able to transform into a pursuit, and that pursuit needs to then maybe go to a different game mode. If I just stop, if I finish that race and go in and I start another race, a different game mode, it still needs to be a pursuit for the third person that follows me, because he's a human and he doesn't care what game I'm playing. So that's where it becomes a little bit complicated to actually make. But once you get that rolling, once you have all these loops running that we have in the game now, it's such a different experience to play this game, because you go in and you start going through the progression, and then suddenly one of your friends come in. The whole game is telling you, okay, there's a friend here now, and he can obviously either go after you, or you could race with him. You can put a beacon in the game to unite with him and start a race together. You can jump around to find people. There's a lot of support system for you to drag people together in this world. It is truly, this is truly a next generation way of playing an open world game, and I think that we'll see more of this as we get more familiar with what next generation is. But the game is called Rivals, right? The basic plot with this is that the cop versus racers that's a really old, it's easy to understand cop versus racers. It's like cop versus robbers or cowboy versus Indians. There's two sides. And to me, the true next generation, the true Need for Speed experience is with cops and racers. I like being, like chasing someone or being chased by someone. I think that's what Need for Speed is going to be when we look to it, going forward. But in Rivals, it really is about this media war of racers being out there recording their events and uploading, getting likes, whereas cops, the motivation for cops is obviously to stop that and try to close down street racing in Redview County, as we call it. There's a narrative that you unlock throughout this game, but it's a different narrative that you can think about, because what we need to do in this open world, right, is that someone can be level 5, you can be level 15, I can be level 20, and we still need to be able to play this game at the same time, in the same race, but still making progress in the game. And this is, again, this is where it becomes, okay, how do we design that? So the progression in this game is progression is really themed into what we call speed list and assignments. Speed list for racers, assignments for cops. And there are basically lists of objectives that you need to do for every level that you go through the game. So that means that level 5, 10, and 15 could be sharing and still be very successful in the race, because one speed list could be place third, place second, and place first in a race. So it's really, we can play together and still be making progress in the game. So bottom line, it's a really cunning system to make sure that you always have meaning when you're playing the game. But as I said, it's also a slightly darker tone to it than what you've probably seen in Need for Speed before. You saw the opening video. It's a different way of portraying Need for Speed. The reason I want to do that, I want to show that there's a different driver. There's a different studio now with a slightly different vision for Need for Speed, I guess. And that is also going to come through in the narrative as it's told in the game. But the rivalry is obviously not only between cops and racers, right? It's also about you versus your friends. Autolog has been a big part of Need for Speed for a very long time, since 2010. I don't know about you guys, but I play through Hot Pursuit solely through friends' recommendation and friends' challenges. I never really understood the motivation in that game more than I was a cop and a racer, and then all these things came in. All these challenges came in and asked me to replay again. A great way, I think, to really sponsor replayability. But this, is about you and your friends. But we're also building that out now. For the first time, we are going to give the people that bought the game really at home after it's done. So if you played Battlefield, you know that they have something they call Battle Log, which I was involved in actually developing from the very beginning. And this is kind of an equivalent of that for Need for Speed. This is for you, when you bought the game and you log on, you will be able to see your friends driving around this world and also go into all your stats, what cars you have, movies and pictures that you upload. It's all going to be kind of in this repository around your profile on the Need for Speed network. And most games have that now, right? But Need for Speed has never had it. We've never established that home for people after you've played the game. So it's really time for us to do that, I think. And I think this is a really interesting and visual way for us to get that across. But we're also using second screen in something we call OverWatch, which is our way of giving you an application which can feed into the main game at any given time. So it's obviously wherever you are, when you have a connection, you can log on to this game and go straight into the Need for Speed experience, and you can see where people are driving around. You get a map, you can see where people are driving around, and you can either help or hinder that person. So imagine that someone's beaten me on a challenge. I get a message, he's beaten me. I open up my OverWatch or my Need for Speed network, and I build my playlist. I'm going to take back this challenge. When I start playing that challenge, that person gets a message that Marcus is now trying to attempt to take back the record. You can then open your OverWatch application from wherever you are and see me driving around. You can see me driving to the start, and you can see me starting to race. And then you can call in helicopters. You can pull on spike strips, so you can actually almost work as a police dispatcher and a little bit mess with me when I'm trying to take back the record. But you can also help if for instance I want to take out a third person really want to help me. He can also log on, and he can give me extra boost, when he can feel that, I might need it, because you can also see exact state of the people you're following. On this, you can also, on the Need for Speed network, you can also set up groups. That's something I'm really big into, because I love the fact to compare, different things. So everyone can sign up to as many groups as they want. All you guys can sign up to the England group. And I obviously sign up to the Sweden group. All Swedes can be compared to all English people. Everyone who puts their points into Tottenham can compare to everyone who puts it into Arsenal. It's all about comparing your interest in any given time. You can start as many groups or be part of as many groups as possible, and every point that you collect is obviously going towards that group. So we'll be able to compare capabilities in Need for Speed between each, whatever you want, after the Rivals comes out. So this is coming to an end. I think that I'm probably I'm not really done yet, but very soon. So this is obviously this Need for Speed Rivals is coming out in November, and these are a few things of it. Obviously, all drive is the thing I want to push. You need to get your hands on this. You need to go into the experience and really feel how the unexpected I'm talking about is really changing the game experience. It's like nothing that you've ever felt before. The last thing I want to say and perhaps give some more information on is the way is our cooperation with Criterion. Criterion has obviously helped us immensely as I started this presentation, and what's happening now is that they've gone away, and done something else than Need for Speed. So they've obviously done great Burnout games. They've done Hot Pursuit and Most Wanted, and now it's time for them to do something else. And I have no idea what that is, but I'm sure it's going to be absolutely great. The people that still wanted to make Need for Speed have joined a studio that we set up in Guildford called Ghost. So Ghost has now 2 studios, one in Gothenburg and one in Guildford. And they will, we will together kind of push Need for Speed into the future together. And I think that I think we have a great start with Rivals. I think this is the start. We're working with Frostbite 3. It's going to be the same engine year on year. It's going to be the same creative leadership with this game. There's a clear strategy of where we want to go, which we'll be able to talk to more in the coming future. But I can say this much: it definitely involves customization of cars again. So this is where Need for Speed is going, and thank you very much. Before I say that, actually, I also want to show you another movie. This movie will debut next week, so this is a little bit of a sneak peek. And it was concluded last night, and it's about detailing parts of the progression I was talking about, the speed list and the assignments. So play the movie, please.
Decrypted Zephyr's radio signal to a couple miles from your position. Your assignment's simple. Get to Zephyr. End it. End it now.
Thank you so much, Marcus. I should just point out as well that if you do want to play Need for Speed Rivals, it is on the show floor right now, so you can go and have a play of it yourself. We do have time for a quick couple of questions before we go, so if anybody has a question, raise your hand. And we've got One down here, thanks. And if you could stand up when you're asking the question, that'd be great. Cheers.
Are you going to make a new Burnout game?
You know, that wouldn't really be my my position to answer. I think we need to direct that. Go to Twitter and to Alex Ward, ask him. You know, I'd be one of the bigger supporters behind a new Burnout game again. Absolutely.
I've got another question just here.
Is there going to be a motor bicycle like Need for Speed with bikes?
No, is the simple answer to that. I think it's a great idea. And there's just we'll have one more question just over there as well, and then we'll wrap up. Thanks.
So since Black Box has gone, the progression seems to have died a bit. And I was wondering if it was ever going to come back, as in, I get a low-class car and be able to upgrade it to match some of the others, rather than have a really low-class car that can keep up with the Ferrari like recently.
So if I understood the question correctly, if you could have lower tier cars that you could build up and upgrade so they can compete with higher end cars. I think there's a future there, I'll tell you that much. I don't think that you will find that functionality in Rivals specifically, even though that you can obviously tune and upgrade your cars in Rivals. They're all kind of sports or high-end supercars. But as I said, part of the reason of making personalization in this game is that it actually makes sense to have personalization for the first time in a long time because of the open world and the seamless integration of friends. Likewise, I think there's a future of doing what you're saying, of having other lower tier cars that you have more flexibility in upgrading to what you want them to be, and also go deeper on customization, as I said.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming along. I hope you've enjoyed today. Maybe see some of you in the pub later on. Thanks again, and also thanks, of course, to Marcus. So please, a round of applause for Marcus. Thanks.
Thank you.